the top of the charger is white again. Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. We are on part 2 of the mod top tutorial, and despite my best efforts, things have taken a turn. Since the first video came out, I learned that the decals, which I wouldn't mention in the first video because I didn't know what the story was, what was going on. People were ordering the decals and not getting them, and I have since found out, people have reached out, and that there were comments on the first one, that Bruce Satterwater, who was the gentleman behind SMP Decals, which is where I got the decals from, passed away. And unfortunately, that is no longer a source for mod top or floral top decals. So more on that in a minute, because we're gonna have to go in a different direction. And in this video, I'm gonna show you why. I know I said 50 times in the last video that I was not gonna like try to draw a mod top, but there's that. So I'm going to show you what I did to go through to make that right there. And then we're going to make a template of the roof that we're putting this on. And again, we're putting it on the we're putting this on a Revell 1969 Dodge Charger. And if this is your first video in the series and you're watching this now, sure, you should definitely put down in the comments that you couldn't get a mod top on a Dodge Charger, nor could you get a floral top on a Dodge Charger. I know. Just, I want to put one on. This is not going to be a stock vehicle, so you could probably get it at the dealer level, but you're right, you couldn't get it from the factory, ordered from the factory with a mod top, vinyl top on it. So you're amazing. Everybody loves you and respects your authority as a true fact knower. So let's take a look at what happened and what's informing my decisions and the directions that this entire tutorial is going. Alright? Hold on. Okay, we've run into a problem. It would turn out that the SMP decals are printed on white paper. The blue mod top pattern that SMP decals sold was printed on white decal paper, which is skewing the actual pattern way white. You really shouldn't on a mod top. There really wasn't any light white showing through. I guess that's why they always looked too white for me, and that's what led me to do this. So remember in the last episode when I said I'm not going to be creating a file? I've been working on creating a file, and the experimentation process has been interesting, to say the least. So that's why it's been such a pain in the neck. I had used a real mod top to make this pattern, which is good if you're making a worn out, old, unrestored, sun bleached mod top pattern. So what I've been trying to do is maybe saturate the colors more and make it, and then find the optimal base color to go onto it. So where am I so far? just had a sheet that I had printed out. Might have left it upstairs. But by changing some settings in Photoshop, I did wind up resaturating I did make here's the green pattern, and these were actually taken from pictures of cars that had floral tops and mod tops, and then recombined and generatively expanded using an AI feature within Photoshop, so to extrapolate the pattern and repeat it over and over again, so it doesn't look like it's, you know, been copied and pasted a bunch of times. So that actually translated fairly well on the green one, but the blue one did not do so well. So this is the sheet of the real, I had already thrown it out in the garbage, the really faded one. And you could see the waves like going through here with the green, and there's another patch in the middle that's like this thing right here sticks out. So I'm gonna be working on it, do the best that I can, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with these files. I don't know if I'm just gonna email them to people if they request them, or see if there's a decal manufacturer that might want to take them and use them. I don't know. I guess I'll keep you posted. So hold on. Okay, so here's the new green that I've tweaked in Photoshop by adjusting colors and hue, saturation. It's definitely it's more saturated, but I think this one is better, to be honest with you. This looks oversaturated to the point where it almost looks embossed, and this is, if you've seen the 69 GTS that I've done previously with the mod top, this is very, very much closer, and that car looked pretty good. So I think I'm gonna forego this. This one's not doing me any favors. So as far as the blue one, the problem I'm having with the blue is that there's more detail to the blue flowers that you're supposed to be seeing in this pattern, and it's almost as if it's being taken over by the green. And though the green is prominent on a real car, it's almost as if this is almost better, because you could see the blue more deeply and the detail of the blue more deeply in this example than you would in this. But let's see. I'm gonna see if I can throw a little bit of this onto here, see what happens. So hold on. Okay, I'm gonna shoot this quick because I don't want this decal to start biting in. But the new and improved mod top decal over this color blue is not gonna work, because this color was chosen on the basis that it would be behind the and making up for gaps in the old SMP decal. So we're going to be abandoning that to further drive that point home. This is a slightly darker shade of base for that decal, and I'm not digging that at all, so that's no good. But this is the newest version of the image printed with a white background. And if you've ever seen a mod top in person, that's very close. And if you could really get in there and look, the detail for the flowers that are in the floral, the mod top itself, are present. I managed to play with this image a lot in Photoshop and to get it as wide as possible so that when I repeated it on the sheet, it didn't look that bad. And then I went in. Now you'll see, you know, on the macro level out here, you'll see that there is a pattern that develops. But over a pattern over this kind of space that's this tight and in 1/25th scale is kind of hard to get rid of. But I did manage to get rid of it. It was not easy. This right here, and I'm going to flash it up on the screen now. This is the mod top pattern. This is what you would get on a Plymouth in 1969, and I don't think it was maybe in 1970. This is the actual pattern, a picture taken from a satellite that was restored using one of the last rolls of original mod top vinyl. So this is the real thing, the real colors. And this is what I based the image off of. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of. I don't know how to click around on my computer with you in the computer, you know what I mean? I don't know how to do that. I'm just some schmo in a basement in Ronkonkoma. So just I'll put you like here, pointed at the computer, and we'll do it that way. Okay, so I'm over here. How you doing? I have the image opened up in Photoshop, and Photoshop, if you could see over here, has a feature called generative expand. So what you do is, what I did was I took this as an individual element, and I had to crop it off because if you see in this corner right here, this is actually part of the C-pillar trim on the satellite that this picture came from. So getting that out of the way, I cropped that to get it out of the way. And then that left me with that. So then with generative expand, I told Photoshop, I want to take this pattern. Oh, I have to actually, hold on. Undo. Oh boy, let me tell you, there was a lot of undo when I was doing this. So you have to move the grid out, and you put a prompt in here. What would you like to generate? And so I think the exact verbiage that I used was expand this pattern using same colors. Oh, sorry. Just hit the camera. Yeah, this is going to be rough and down and dirty, kids. Highly unsophisticated setup we have here. And then I hit enter. And then the AI takes a sample of my DNA, makes a clone of me. No, I'm just kidding. It just crunches the numbers. And now if you see, it widened the pattern out according to the parameters that I set. So let's see what this thing did. We'll cut this down to 75%. In this corner I put. So it widened it out a little bit. Now it gives you three options. So this was the first option of expanding. And then usually what'll happen from here is it'll start to get a little funky. See what I mean? But even that is not that bad, kind of usable, although this right here is not a color that really appears within the mod top pattern. So that's, like I generally would not, and believe me, I did this dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And then this might be too green. So you're starting to see too much green in here. The actual, an actual mod top is more of a teal color. So this color in here and the blue, those are the overarching colors. With this lightish, warmer green, less blue green tinged in there. So I expanded that, and then what I would do is, so this was the one, like this one I probably would have went with. So then what I'll do is I go this way, and I want to expand it. Oh, come on, be nice. Generative expand. And now I want to take it this way and do the same thing. Expand this pattern using the same colors. And it's going to expand the pattern again. You can only do this so much before it really starts to get weird, and it'll almost become like kaleidoscopic. See, like that, it's starting to lose the script, if you know what I mean. If you see, like, this looks embossed. It's starting, this looks differential. There's a pink in there. Pink is starting to form over here. This is actually alright. That's not too bad. But it's still, I'm getting the embossed effect over here. And like an etched effect to the pattern. And I'm not really a fan of that, because as you draw away, like when I reduce this to 1/25th scale, this is going to look like fog and haze. And it's not going to be distinct like this is. So I got the, yeah, and that's just, you could see the AI is losing the script in this area over here. Regardless, what I wound up doing was coming up with, between AI generative expand and copying and pasting and all kinds of other stuff, I came up with this. No, that's not what I came up with. This is what I came up with. This was a pattern that I created as a tile, which I then used this picture. I went over to Adobe Illustrator. Please pardon the wait. So the Adobe Creative Suite that I use it more like on a hobbyist level. It's a monthly subscription, so I have access to a number of applications that Adobe puts out, and they're very useful. Every month when I make a thumbnail for my videos, I'll create them in Adobe Illustrator and then convert them to JPEGs, low weight JPEGs in Photoshop, so that I could use them as the thumbnails for my videos. So now in Adobe Illustrator, I opened up a new file. I forget what I used, but it doesn't really matter. We can make it for the web. Well, actually, no, because we're gonna print. We're gonna do this as a print file. So we'll do that on a A4. A4 is basic. The printable area is 7.75 inches by 11.25 inches. It's a little bit smaller than a regular letter. So, excuse me. What we'll do is we have this artboard that we can then add elements to. I'm going to open up the file that I just had open, which was this. And that's going to open up on a different file. So now what I did was I selected this so that I could get a scalable, without losing the pattern, the dimensions of the pattern. You hit shift, you grab one of the corners over here, you hit shift, and you bring it in. You notice it's not distorting. So I brought this down, and I believe, I'm not going to get to the specifics of the element that I used, but I wound up doing something along the lines of this. So then I placed that there, and then what I did was I copied it, pasted it, and I would take that and I would put that there. paste, and I would put that there. And I would basically tile it. And what winds up happening with that is that you will start to see patterns developing when you're going to go and work on this in Photoshop. But you're basically taking swatches and bits and pieces of the pattern, well, the pattern itself, and you're multiplying it in Illustrator to make it repeatable, scalable, all that good stuff. So now, let's say for the sake of argument, that's my printable area, or whatever the case may be. I would then paste this, I'd grab the corner. Now you see how that changed into, flip it around. And I want it to be 180 degrees exactly, so I'm going to go over to here and I'm going to enter 180 degrees. So I flipped it around completely. Then I'm going to place that there. Since it's still highlighted, I'm going to copy that and then I'm going to paste that in here. And what you'll start to see is a pretty widely thrown the reality is, I mean, the larger that you make the file itself, every pattern is generally going to repeat. Although there are some incredibly talented textile authors who can do that. So now, this is basically what I have. And then I just would save this. Let's call this episode. Because this is going to be in the episode of a AI file, and we'll save it. Sure. We'll go back over to yeah, this was one of the interim ones where I was playing with remember when I said I was playing with the contrast? This is what I wound up with. And it was not good. And then I had this thing in the middle here, this artifact. It was not pretty, so I didn't like that. So now we're going to open up that Adobe Illustrator file, and that was called episode. And once we do that, here it is. So you'll notice it cropped off the white parts of the A4 piece of paper we were using. So then what I would then do, now you see these lines? We got to get rid of those lines. Because, it's obvious tiling. So I got rid of them there's a thing called the spot healing brush tool in Photoshop. I would zoom in, again going down to this corner. Let's make the size of this, let's make it 125. It's going to get me in pretty tight. So now you can really see the lines. We got to get rid of those. So the way we get rid of those is with this is called, again, the spot healing brush tool. And we just go over here and left click on the line. Now watch the artifact disappear. It's gone. It kind of, now if you pulled back all of the way, it's going to kind of be visible. So when you're doing this for our purposes, and by no means should this be something that you're going to do if you're going to try to do this for a living, because this is total hack. We're just trying to make a vinyl roof on a model car. So we're not going to go nuts. So what you could do is do a little zigzag like that. And then you'll have a different character of the blend. Because what it's doing is it's sampling the pixels on either side of what you're fixing, and it's reapplying them. There's another way, because there's something that happens to this image when we do this, And I'll show it to you. So let's just say we went through this entire thing. We like the way it looks, and we want to save this as a JPEG. You'd go over to layer over here. You'd flatten the image. Then you'd save it. Save as. Episode as a JPEG. And you'd hit save. Now, the quality, because we're going to want to print this, the maximum is 12. So that's then saved. But I'm going to bring you over to the one. Let's get rid of this, because I don't like even looking at this stupid thing. No, I don't want to save the changes. Do I want to save this? No, I don't. I do not want to save the changes to that. Okay, this is my decal. This is the actual print file for the decal that I'm going to be using. The dimensions of this is 7.65 inches by 4 inches, which prints out, there I am hitting the camera again, which prints out to about this size in relation to the roof and has enough detail. So now you see that there were, wavy lines and stuff like that. And if you look in this area here, I'm going to be zooming in on this part. So let's go zoom that into 125%. So now you'll see that there's a lot of detail in here. But one of the things that I found very problematic when I printed these out was there's a group of 4 flowers that keep repeating over and over again. And the way that I got rid of them, it's going to be hard to say naturally because I'm trying to see them, so now I won't see them. Let me go back a little bit. 75. All right, where did you go? These 4 right here. See these? So let's get these right in the middle. So these stand out because they seem to be of a uniform size, dimension, description. This is basically the same as this, and this is basically the same as this. So what do we do? How do we get rid of this? Because this is in the middle of our pattern. If we're really going to screw around with this, we're gonna lose a lot of detail. And so there is a feature within Photoshop that I used, and it's called the Clone Stamp tool. And in order to use that, I pick an area on here that I wanted to sample. So you'd alt click, so you press alt, you hit click, and it's going to sample every pixel in this area. Now I'll go over to here. I want to remove this flower from the array, so I will left click down and it's going to sample over here the pixels that are over there. So you're kind of keeping your pattern alive, but you're getting rid of that extra flower. And then what you can do is also get rid of this one. So it's also going to move around. So let me re-click to an area over here. Let's call it this area. I'm going to hit Alt and left click, and then I'm going to go over to this area and I'm going to get rid of that flower. And what it does is, because this pattern is incredibly detailed, it's very busy, there's a lot of stuff going on in this pattern. So you don't want it, because it's so busy, it's also very easy for repetitions to stand out. So that's why I had to go through those steps. So then when I do zoom out and we look at this at the macro level, so let's look at it at 40%. That area, we lost those 2 flowers, and whereas over here those 4 flowers are still there. Over here you just have the 2 and it doesn't stand out too much. So I went through the entire image and rearranged everything to get rid of these stripes, which you see here. See that stripe going down? I didn't like that repetition. And I wound up arriving at this. This is the final result, which looks balanced in the pattern. It looks pretty much spot on in terms of the detail of the mod top pattern, and the colors are the right colors. Let me get rid of this so I don't want to inadvertently change this, because this is my final print version. So now what I am going to do is I want to show you guys. I don't want to save anything, right? No, I don't want to save anything. So we'll go back to the original. Is that it? That's the expansion. Where did that thing go? This. So this is the original expansion. Now, let's look at this at, say, 150%. Oops. Did it get bigger? I don't even notice. Let's look at it at 200. All right. So this is the new pattern. When you look at this, now keep in mind this is scaled down. In terms of color, it is kind of there. It's where it needs to be. It's definitely where it should be in terms of color, as opposed to what you would get. I don't know what I did with my SMP decal, but and this is not to besmirch, the deceased, but every time I would post pictures of my dot, I would always ask, where did you get the decals? And I would always supply the name. Now, the floral top decals that Bruce made was spot on. They were nearly perfect as far as the pattern is concerned. They were printed on clear decal paper, and they were really, really nice. And that model got a lot of attention. But as far as the blue vinyl top, the blue mod top and the yellow mod top, I don't think it was really accurate as it could be. And not for nothing, this is a difficult, busy pattern. And it took me probably, just over the course of the past several months, it probably took me like 100 hours to get from this to this, which is in 1/25th scale. This is a scaled down version of that. So at the end of the day, I like this. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put this on that charger. So I'll set up for that. You're probably going to be on the overhead, and I'll talk to you in a second. So we're over here. We got the charger body. And you had seen that in the previous episode I had painted this light blue, hoping that I would be able to fill in the white, not realizing that the SMP decals were printed on white decal paper. So I had to go back and paint this white again. Neither here nor there. Let's pretend none of that happened. We're starting with a clean slate, okay? Because let me tell you, this has been one of the hardest series I've ever undertaken on this channel. Not that this channel's been around that long, but wow, it is really, really, this has been a tough one. The decal paper itself. So what are you dealing with when you're printing your own decals? Well, you drew your art, or you acquired your art, however you're gonna do it. You'll either in the software that comes from your printer, or if you have Photoshop or Corel Draw or one of the photo editing, you'll set up a print profile to print this. Now, all of them are going to be different. I am not a graphic artist, obviously. I'm not really that good at computers, and I'm not even that good at Photoshop. All of this was just Googling and YouTube, and So just set everything to the maximum. When you save this as a JPEG, like I saved it at the maximum resolution with no compression, so that this is as crisp a copy of this image as I could get. And then when I printed it on Hayes Paper Company Water Slide Inkjet Clear. And hold on a second, I'll go get the clear coat that I put over it. Stand by. This is the clear coat that I used. Plaid Patricia Nimox, the magic name in crafts. Oh, I hope I didn't cast a spell just now. Decorative Crafts Clear Acrylic Sealer. Matte. So matte has a very slight shine to it, as you could see on this paper. It's a very little bit of a shine. Matte does not mean flat, no matter what you've ever been told. It does have a very light sheen to it. This smells suspiciously like Tamiya Clear, but I don't know, because I didn't read the material safety data sheets, what the ingredients are. But what I can tell you is, when I watched a video from the manufacturer of Hayes Paper Company, this was the clear coat that was being used. I'm assuming it was by the, I don't know, they were using, it was a video demonstrating this decal paper that I'm using. And this actually works pretty well. So once you print at the highest settings that your printer will allow, once you print the decal out, let it dry. Don't just immediately start cutting it out and throwing it. It's not going to work. You have to let the paper itself dry. I'd give it a half hour to an hour. Then you apply 3 coats from 12 inches away of this acrylic clear, allowing it to dry in between, and it dries pretty quick, not for nothing. So after that, I don't be in a rush to throw this on the car. Give it a day, let it really dry, and then you can begin, which is what we're gonna do now. Okay? So in order to get a mod top decal, and I know everybody's waiting with bated breath right now. In order to get a mod top decal onto the roof of a model car, you would think, oh, I'll just cut out, I'll T-lar it. That looks about right. What's going to fit on there? And I'll just cut out a square. It's going to give you a problem. What you have to do is you have to make a template of the sail panels and the roof. Now, you could get away with these little crevices in here on a Charger, the inside, these little surfaces. Make sure I'm pointing to them. These right here and over here. You could do those separately, and you could do the A-pillars separately, and then just try to, trim it appropriately. The problem with this type of decal is it is almost transparent. This is applied over a white base, so this is gonna look very similar. The problem is, if you overlap the decals themselves, if you put this decal on top of itself, it's gonna have a multiplication effect. So wherever it overlaps is gonna be much, much darker. So you gotta keep that in mind. So you might be tempted to make a demarcation line at the seam of the vinyl top, as you can see in here. That might not be your best bet, because you might wind up overlapping, and that could cause you problems. So what I would do is, you're going to apply tape, and I'm going to do that now. You're going to apply tape, and you're going to not really dig it in. You're just going to use a pencil and mark along where your lines are for this, and then remove the tape. And let's do that, and we'll discuss, okay? Because there will likely be profanity involved. I'm probably going to put on some nice music in the background as I screw this up several times. As I can already attest that I'm about to start screaming because I can't find my masking tape. Oh, here it is. Never mind. Okay, now we're going to take the template off, taking care to keep it intact. Now notice I didn't really dig it in. We're not masking anything off here. This is creating a shape template so that we can transfer this to the back of our decal paper and cut out a shape. So I'm now going to very carefully place the body back on the stand, send it to another state so I don't damage it while I'm doing all this. So if you see, we got our outline, and it's a two-dimensional template of a three-dimensional object. So when we cut this out, we're going to be cutting out not directly on the line. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. And now keep in mind here, any angle that you have, round that angle out. Because if you cut the decal at a sharp angle, you're asking for that decal to tear at that sharp angle. Any type of angle, if you give a decal a chance, like an inside angle, it's going to try to get away from you and tear, and we don't want that. So we just got to be careful. You don't have to use Tamiya washi tape for this, but I wouldn't recommend like frog tape or anything that's high tack. Try to use as low a tape as you think will still work for you. And again, we're keeping this. You could also, if you really wanted to, you could cut this along the line itself, and then just mentally, as you cut it out of the decal sheet, you could add, like a little bit of an overlap. Nothing crazy, 2 to 3 millimeters at most. You don't want to have big things hanging off, but you definitely don't want to have to replace patches because you cut it short. And like I said, those little inserts on the inside of the rear deck panel, we'll have to do those separately. Those are going to be fun. On the dart that I did, one of the hardest parts was there's the rear window of the 69 Dodge Dart has a surround, and trying to get that where all of the patterns lined up was definitely challenging. That was not fun. See, like right here, if I made an actual angle in this area right here, that decal is going to want to rip. and then the rest of the sail panel is gonna want to come off with it. So there won't be, we're trying to mitigate the chances of a really, really thick mushroom cloud of profanity from hanging over the Steffens family house. So now we have a rough template of the shape of a 1969 Dodge Charger roof. Okay? Put that there. And now we take scissors to paper. I'm gonna cut the decal out. You can, when you're printing, you could definitely, if you have an 8.5 by 11, you could take this, flip it around so that it prints this way. You could print at least 2 of them on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. I just didn't, because I'm a pain in the neck. I do questionable things. So if you hadn't used the sealer on this, most of this decal would be on your fingers right now. You need the sealer on the haze paper. You can buy paper that says it doesn't need the sealer. I haven't had good experience with that, but I have had fairly decent experience with the haze. There will be links in the description to Amazon links to get both the haze paper and the Patricia Nimox, the magic name in crafts, her plaid decorative crafts clear acrylic sealer, which smells suspiciously like Tamiya. So we have this cut out. So now what do? Well, turn it over. We don't want to tempt fate and put this tape. We want to conserve as much of the decal sheet as possible in case we do have to do this over. So we get this on there. Ooh, don't fold the paper, because that's also why you put it on the back, because if it's not perfect the first time, see, like me pulling this tape off on the front of this, I would have messed it up. Nothing in the world is completely Frank proof, that's for sure. You have no idea how adaptive my idiocy is. So this, you want to keep this. I'm holding the decal paper down while I get the template on. So the template's on, and even though we put a little bit of a lip around it, I'm still going to add a little bit more on. It's better. You don't want to have too much overlap, but you also want to have some wiggle room for when you apply the decal to the roof. Okay, so here goes nothing. We're going to cut the decal. Here we go. So I'm still leaving a millimeter or so outside of, I'm probably giving this 3 millimeters from the pencil line. It's a good one. No hard angles, especially inside angles. So we minimize our chance of tear. If we play our cards right, we might even be able to get the A-pillars and those little fillets out of this piece right here. But the important part is getting this thing on. It's a good feeling. Okay. All right. Now, do you take the tape off before you put it in the water? Unfortunately, you do. And you got to be careful. And I just realized I don't have any water over here. Silly Frank. You are a silly, silly man. If you want, you could, try to preserve the template in case you got to do it again. In fact, that's probably a good idea for me to do. Definitely a good idea for me. There I go again, talking out of the side of my mouth. Yeah. See? Gee, I wonder where would be a good place to store this. Why? Let's put it on this side of the... Nope. Not gonna lie, this is a fairly resilient sheet template that I'm making here. It's taking a lot of crap from me right now. Good for you. Take any crap from Frank. Okay, we got our water. Our charger body is back from Connecticut, where I was hiding it so it wouldn't get damaged. So, try not to be nervous. At least try not to be as nervous as I am. You get the water, get the decal wet. Make sure that the decal paper is saturated. Okay. I'll just give it a little bit to rest. As far as a decal solvent, I would be pretty careful. If you want to use a decal solvent, don't put it on the top of the decal. Put it underneath. If you're going to do that, I would put a barrier coat of your favorite barrier coat, whatever that may be, if it's Future or Aqua Gloss Clear or whatever it is you use. So let's get this wet. So we want this to float as much as possible. In case we got it, well, we're gonna have to move it around. It isn't necessary to have the body masked off. I try to keep the amount of time that I have masking tape on a painted body to a minimum. So here we go. Here was nothing. Okay. And work that in. How are we? Looks like I did not screw the pooch on edges, which is good. Remember, we're going to do these fillets separately and the A-pillars separately. what do you want to do now? So at this point, you want to get this on. And you want to get it tucked down. Don't worry so much about bubbles for now. You want to get this on as good as it's going to get. Okay? The decal film itself is fairly resilient. But it's made even more so by that sealer. Without using the sealer, the decal film is not fun. It's not going to work at all. So you need the sealer for this type of decal paper. We got it on. Now we got to do some molding. Onto there. I am hoping that this is gonna, hopefully my adhesive is okay. Take a look at that, how that looks so far. Doesn't look too bad. I'm looking at the color of the Mod Top itself. I am going to do something that I might regret. I'm going to lift this a little bit, and I'm going to put some decal adhesive down, because I don't think I have much in the way of adhesion. So this decal adhesive is not, it's gentle. It won't affect the Tamiya paint, the acrylic paint that's underneath it. Roll it back on. And I think that's going to help with adhesion. Problem with a decal solvent itself is that that could affect the paint that you have underneath. Be nice, don't fold. This is, I'm surprised that I have the guts to do this right now. I gotta be honest with you. I'm juggling a decal this big. I'm like a crazy person. But I want this to work for you guys and me. I'm liking this idea, a charger with a mod top. You know, it's gonna be a standout, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is a not insignificant decal film if it can withstand this type of handling. So that's good. And to me, a decal adhesive is actually pretty cool stuff. I like it. doing that on camera. Folks, I apologize if I don't get all of this on camera, but sometimes that's gonna happen. I'm a model builder first and a content creator second. And I make no apologies for that. Ooh, I like that. See that? See the way the glue like sucked the decal down? That was cool. So we gotta be careful of these folds. See right here, this little crease? That's the multiplication effect I was warning you about that you want to try to avoid, of overlapping the decals, because when they overlap, like this crease, the decal is actually overlapping on itself slightly. So it looks like a darker spot, a darker line. And like I said, don't worry too much about the bubbles. Actually, the bubbles we can use to our advantage later on, because what we could do with the bubbles is we could pierce them and then pour a setting solution in, and that can help tuck it down a little bit. We want to really make sure now that we're starting to work this in. I still don't want to... I could probably put some more adhesive under here. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. So, in a couple of spots, like right there, and right there, having a little bit of problem. Not a big deal, but we'll work our way, see what we could do, and stay the course. Try to get this crease out as much as we can, because it looks like what's happening is where it's creasing, the sealer is cracking and the pigment, the printer ink is kind of chipping away. Not a big deal. We gotta get through it. This ain't easy. This is definitely not a very easy technique. It's not a very easy effect. So we gotta have patience. We gotta move some things on the fly, do what we gotta do. Oh, that's a pretty big hole. That's not a big deal though. We'll figure that out. See that? What I just did on the back there? It happens. It does happen. It happened to me on the green one. Like I said, we could put a little speck of decal there. Try to blend it in. Probably best we start to leave this alone so it can dry. This right here is starting to concern me. Now, we're not rolling this with force. Just rolling it to try to get it to cinch down. what I'm doing, I just pierced the decal so that we could try to press the air out. Push it down. Try not to reinflate it. I am not digging this crease over here. This crease is a problem. I gotta get close to myself in order to see and have the dexterity and control with my left hand, my left arm. Still a little messed up. It's coming along. You still gotta work it. Yeah, that's a problem, but we could touch that up. It's not the end of the world. So what spots? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. It's about how the floral top dot went, to be honest. That came out looking pretty decent, but when it was first applied, it was a little scary. I am not going to lie. So this finding that my finger is doing a better job of burnishing the decal onto the surface, getting better results. The texture is coming through, I guess, of the decal, of the MCW texture lacquer. The spots that are going to need to be touched up aren't super bad. What I'll do is off the top and on the remainder of the decal sheet, I get some acrylic paints mixed up. Probably gonna have to compound this body again and polish it. It's got my fingerprints all over it. No big deal. You know, I want it to look nice. Obviously it's not a factory job, because you wouldn't have been able to get this at the factory on a charger, but dealers do nice work too. Okay. I think we're done with that. Let's send the body back to Connecticut for a second, so it's not in the way. Let's do a little bit of cleanup. I will be back in a second. Stand by. So on the driver's side, I have, with a brand new X-Acto blade, trimmed away at the trim line. So you're never really going to get this down until you trim it. And I trimmed it away from this line. We'll just work these in. But brand new X-Acto blade. Keep in mind there's going to be spots that the chrome, your bare metal foil, is going to cover where you see white now. But make sure you stay on your trim line. It's not a big deal. If you leave a little decal where the chrome bare metal foil is gonna go, but just a steady hand, take your time. There's no rush. It's not like this stuff's gonna turn to stone on you very quickly. This is difficult for me because like the way I'm doing this right now is farther away from my eyes than I would generally like it to be. So that's why I just left this last part. I'm actually still cutting on the trim. Alright, now I'm back closer. These are my trusty little Ushi Van der Rosten tweezers. Couldn't find the link for these. These are nice. They were a little expensive. They came with a set of scissors. They're pretty good. So you can see a little bit of that Tamiya decal adhesive stringing away as I pulled that off. Yeah, I'm in the trim over here, so let's tighten up this line a little bit. I am going to finish getting the decal on, and I will be back. I want to be able to do it so that I'm comfortable doing it so I don't mess it up. Building before content creation. Sorry, but I'll be back. You get the idea of what's going on here. I'll be back with the finished results. Okay, hold on. Okay, I got the A-pillars on. I'm going to trim those. Got a little patch over here where I went out of the lines. And I started painting the touch-ups that needed to be done. This one was pretty big, but I blended it in kind of well, I would say. You guys are going to know it's there, but I don't think the casual observer. I left one to show you. This was the little palette of paint that I made up to mix the colors. I used Vallejo Deep Sky Blue, Uniform Green, Azure, and White. Just made like a little palette. I got this little piece right there. Let's get rid of that. Okay, let me come in with my paint. Let's get some decal water. Nothing mixes acrylic paint better than decal water. All right, that's a little much. I need a little more azure. And I need a little green. I had to go upstairs and change my shirt because the uniform green, when I opened it, shot out all over my shirt. All right, let's see if we can make this disappear. You ready? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. and it kind of blends in, not for nothing. So let's get a little close up. You can see the pattern on there. The detail with the flowers. As the decal dries, you could see the detail of the flowers, and that really brings the pattern out. I'm kind of liking the way it looks. It looks a little wonky now because the white trim, and I haven't done these little panels here. But let me get these done, and then I'll trim everything, and we'll just have the white, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look. Okay, hold on. Completed. Well, this portion of it. So I got the 8 pillars on and trimmed. Any variation is going to be taken out by the bare metal foil. I am going to definitely have to compound this body again because it's got some boogers now because it's my fingerprints. And maybe a little decal adhesive is on there, but nothing. That's some water and polishing cloth and maybe a little compound. Get that right out. No big deal. So next up for this is going to be a masking off of the paint. And we're going to clear this. So what do you clear this with? You got to keep something in mind. And you might have heard me say this before. When you spray gloss, you appear to darken the color. That has to do with reflectivity. When you spray a flat, the color that you're spraying a flat on, because of light absorption, refraction, bunch of other factors, it makes the color appear a little bit lighter. So you got to keep that in mind. So while I'm not particularly super fond of this, I might want it a little bit flatter. So I might go to my Aqua Gloss Enamel Semi-Matte. Oh, look at that. You can see the touch-up right there. See it? But it blends in nice. See how it blends in? Mwah! So that will be next. I'll mask off, and then once I get clear on here, it actually tucks down pretty nice. It looks pretty good. Tucked in nice. I got the little buttresses in the back. They went on okay. Anything that looks a little rough, we'll try to clear it up. Maybe, I could just mix up another little batch if I need to, batch of paint and touch it up. But I like the way it looks. I think it gives the impression, and I'm more for the impression. I think this gives a very good impression of a blue mod top as it appeared on Plymouths in 69, and I don't know if there were any in 70. There might have been. Might have seen this on a CUDA in 70. I don't think they were putting them on satellites in 1970. There are satellites that have this in 1969. And I'm still going to have people in the comments telling me that you couldn't get a mod top you couldn't get any type of floral top or mod top on a Charger. Watch. Mark my words. Super. All right. Let's sum this episode up. I think I did pretty well. I think I did pretty well with the blue mod top. Like I said, that was a lot of hours. Long, tedious work. But I'm a big fan of these things. I don't think I'm going to venture into the yellow one, to be honest with you. Slicks does the yellow one, and it's pretty good. So if you can get your hands on that, do so. I don't know if there's any other decal companies that make mod top decals. As far as these go, if you want, I'll send you the JPEG. But listen, unsupported, It is what it is. Figure it out. I don't bother me. And before the 7 people that I know are gonna ask, I'm not printing them out for you, and I'm not sending them to you. I don't want to hear it. I'm just not gonna do it. And if you, because it happens all the time. You don't understand. After the first video, I got emails. Do you have any more of the decals left? Leave me alone. You want a sheet? The sheet that I showed you, 11 grand. Half due up front, half due deposit, non-refundable. How's that sound? Otherwise, don't bother me. If you want to show this to a decal manufacturer and say, listen, this goofball on YouTube's got, it looks pretty good. The green looks pretty good. I have print-ready PDFs in CMYK format, high resolution, ready to go. If they want them, they can have them, whatever. Just put my name on it somewhere. Say, we love you, Frank Steffens. You're amazing. Frank's model works. YouTube. Whatever you want to do. So, the links for the products that I used will be in the description. If you want the JPEG, like I said, you'll email me and I'll send it to you. I think it's about 6 megs. It's, I'm pretty sure that can make it over most email systems. Unsupported, don't bother me. I'm serious. No product support. I'm telling you right now. You don't. I mean, I know I sound repetitive and stuff like that, but you don't know how annoying people can get with something like this. Like they'll go. Do you think you could just maybe take off like 3 or 4 flowers in the lip? What? Do you think maybe you could come here so I could flick you right in your Adam's apple? Come on, give me a break. Try to do the right thing here. So, to wrap up this episode, when this is ready, we'll take a look at putting clear on it. And then, this body is going to rejoin the green 68 Charger. And we're going to do bare metal foil. That's going to rejoin the body finishing series. Yeah, remember that? Long time ago. Wow. Until then, as always, I got Frizzo's back. I appreciate your support, but don't bother me. Until we speak again, my friends, take care of yourselves and be well.